Hello everyone! Welcome to another me doing stupid death battle stuff. Today I'm doing a new challenge, a year-long challenge. Like calling Death Battle Remix. I stole this title because they mentioned something like this in the Death Battle cast, the champion cast I mean. And so I was already gonna do this, so now I gave me a title, so thanks to them. So basically this idea I had is we've seen videos of people like giving a new matchup for every series or every combatant that's been on the show. But what if we took one combatant and put it off against another combatant that's already been on the show? That's the goal that I'm doing. And since Death Battle has 10 seasons right now, season 11 is coming this year, and both season 1 and 2 are longer than the others, so averaging out, it would be around like 12 seasons. This can kind of like battle royales and stuff. So I decided every month I'm going to do another season of Death Battle Remix, where it's just returning combatants facing off against other combatants. But here's a few ground rules. No version of the character that's non-Death Battle. So for example, let's say Juggernaut versus Overlord happens as the premiere season 11. I couldn't then choose Juggernaut versus Archie Knuckles because Knuckles was not Archie Knuckles, it was Game Knuckles. Teams will be considered as one character, so Red Team and Blue Team from versus Blue, or Ratchet and Clank and Jak and Daxter, they're one person, or the Megazord and Voltron. It's not all the individual pilots, all the individual members of Red and Blue. The exception is the Red Ranger, since he did appear solo, but like, you get the point. Like I'm not going to do consider each member of Red Team and each member of Blue Team as individual for this thing. No rematches, that should be obvious. The whole point is a remix. I'm not going to do a rematch. If the matchup happens in season 11, I'm going to ignore that because that just makes it way harder. And we're going to include 2 of the bonus episodes, Rhino vs. Caliber and the 7 Battle Royale. I mean, the other are like, there's no way to really include include 2 characters that are in Death Battle anyways, with Vegeta vs. Mewtwo, and the other 2 aren't really featuring characters. So, without any further ado, let's begin! And to start off, let's go with the obvious, it's Bowser Eggman. When you think of matchup between 2 characters that have already been in the show, there are 2 that come to mind. The other one is the finale. For the premiere, I chose Bowser vs. Eggman. It's a classic, it's probably the only Mario vs. Sonic matchup that people still care about. It's a matchup that they want to do eventually. It's basically inevitable, and it's one of the 2 big reasons why I implemented that rule of no repeats in the first place. I had this predicted for season 10, it didn't happen, surprisingly. I'm not going to predict it for season 11, purely because there's just so many stuff for season 11 I will predict, and I have a lot of Mario matchups, but yeah, I don't, you don't need me to tell you why Bowser vs. Eggman is a good matchup, and why it's on this list. You know why this here. It's Bowser vs. Eggman. A matchup that you might not have expected on this list is Captain America vs. Deathstroke. I've tried to keep these lists a bit more somewhat as if it could actually be a season, and if you wanted to make a list that could actually be a season, you need to have at least one Marvel vs. DC. Plus, these franchises are going to be my hell in this challenge, considering it's Marvel and DC. They're like half the episodes are this. Yeah, so I need to find a thing. And luckily, this is a actually somewhat popular opponent for Cap. Kamen Rider Ichigo is definitely the most. And I'm pretty sure there are other more popular opponents for Deathstroke too. But I've actually heard this thrown around. And I'm pretty sure if they were to bring back Cap against another season 2 DC opponent, it probably would be Deathstroke rather than a rematch against Batman or something. It's probably never happening, considering Cap has a way more popular opponent, and I'm pretty sure Deathstroke also has a more popular opponent. But it's one of the few Marvel vs. DC consisting of only returners that is still left. So it's going on this list. I need to clear out Marvel and DC as fast as possible. Well, with covering Season 2 Sword Fighters, here's a more personal pick for me. Raiden vs. Mechagodzilla. I first heard this matchup thrown around during Crossover Coliseum, which, by the way, sad to see that they are going to, the situation. But I instantly fell in love with the idea. I've always wanted a kaiju matchup that involves a small character fighting a kaiju. Like an Attack on Titan or Metal Gear style situation. And Raiden fighting probably the most iconic kaiju-sized mecha is like a perfect juxtaposition. It's a matchup that is less about connections and more like, could this character beat this other character? And it just like really vibes well with me. I mean, Raiden was pretty popular, and I'm sure that Mechagodzilla has some other kaiju opponents, but none that have been on Death Battle. Hell, I'm pretty sure Dragon Zord wasn't even his most popular opponent when the episode did come out. Plus, it's my list. I'm allowed to pick some of my slight ones, and if I want Raiden to fight a giant Godzilla, I can have Raiden fight a giant Godzilla. He probably gets destroyed, but that doesn't change the fact that it would be an amazing fight. You can't deny that the idea of Raiden climbing up Godzilla, slashing him thing, and trying to cut off Kiryu, and then like trying to charge at the absolute zero cannon before getting probably disintegrated. It wouldn't be raw as fuck. Continuing on personal picks, this one is definitely a wilder one than Raiden vs. Godzilla. Akuma vs. Nightmare. So, I know what you're gonna say immediately. Why not Lich King for Nightmare? Because I already had a different Lich King opponent? You could probably guess who it is. In fact, it's coming up. So I had to come up with something else for Nightmare. And I didn't really have anything for Akuma because they already used Shao Kahn. And Rao isn't on Death Battle yet. So I was tossed and conflicted. And then I started thinking. Akuma has 3 forms. His base form, Shin, Akuma, and Oni. Nightmare also has his 3 forms. He has his base, he has the fiery one, and Inferno. So you can have the fun escalation. Both are like corrupted in some way. Well, Akuma's less corrupted, but he's like the Sasui no Hakudo does corrupt people, and so does not Soul Edge. It's kind of vibes. Mainly the idea of Akuma fighting a sword fighter rather than a traditional hand-to-hand martial artist, I think would be really cool, like dynamic. You kind of got that with Shao Kahn, but one, that episode wasn't very good, and 2, Shao Kahn still fought hand-to-hand, and it's more like summon weapons, like to throw like projectiles. It was like a Hadoken. And Nightmare is a pure, we'll fight you with a sword and we'll slash you up. It kind of vibes. It's like it's not as unconnected as you think. It's more than just, they're villains from video games. There is more to it. Fighting games, I mean. What? It's just, I don't know why. It just clicked with me. And when Lich King is not open for Nightmare, I think Akuma makes a fine substitute. So, yeah. This is another personal pick, but I think it vibes. I think this matchup could go really hard. Every character review so far has been from late season 6 or later. Raiden appeared in season 9, but only in a bonus episode, and he was already a returner. So let's cover a character that debuted in one of the latest seasons, Vegito and Dr. Fate. This matchup is pretty clear, like it's the fusion stuff. Vegito is a fusion Goku and Vegeta. Dr. Fate is God and Man. And both like involve God and stuff. You can tell what the connections are. And usually I'd say like even Dr. Fate is like super high DC, and I don't think even Vegito could help up. The fact that Death Battle used Heroes Vegito makes this actually kind of fun. Heroes Vegito gives him way more stuff to do and allows him to think. Having Vegito try to just raw power through all of Fate's magical shenanigans would lead to a very interesting fight that would hopefully make better use of Fate's powers than his fight against Strange, and be a generally less boring episode than Vegito's fight against his other half. I think the fusions deserve a better episode than just fighting a character that's basically just them again. And whilst I think Gogeta vs. Omnimon would be a better choice for that, well, Omnimon isn't on Death Battle, is he? So, for this Death Battle remix, Vegeta versus Dr. Fate is a pretty good pick. Plus, you need to throw Dragon Ball in here somewhere if we're trying to make a semi-realistic season. And Dragon Ball vs. DC is covering 2 in 1. Continuing on covering characters that debuted in Season 9, here we have Sauron versus Ganondorf. So this was a matchup that I saw being thrown around a decent bit as a potential Sauron opponent when he was teased without confirming he was fighting Lich King. Most people were saying Lich King, but I saw a decent bit of people saying Ganondorf, and I think this vibes quite well. I mean, it's classic Dark Lord, the most famous Dark Lord of books and movies versus the most famous Dark Lord of video games. Both of them can transform, both of them have insane tons of magic and decent physical fighting with his sword and mace. Ace, and also fire and coming back and all that. It's the classic Dark Lord matchup. It's fun. Ganondorf vs. Dracula and Sauron vs. Lich King were both extremely banging episodes, so taking 2 of those characters and making them fight each other too would also result in probably an extremely banging episode. Oh, that I'd be glad to see. Imagining Sauron trying to corrupt Ganondorf with the one ring and then Ganon trying to resist it, which I'm not sure if he actually could. Or maybe he falls under the influence, but then that has caused him to transform into Ganon. And then break the ring or something, I don't know. Oh, I never researched these fights. I just came up with them by matching up 2 characters. And I think this is a fun one. There's not much more to it than that. From the Dark Lords to the symbols of hope of their universes, it's time we talk about Optimus Prime versus Superman. And they've talked about how the only reason they did go for Superman 3 was because they wanted to clean the slate before bringing Goku and Superman back against different opponents, or even characters close to Goku and Superman, like Gohan and other Super Kryptonians. And now that that's happened, I think the other Superman and Goku opponents are fair game, though not for any nearby seasons. And this is definitely the most popular Superman opponent. And they're the heroes of justice that come from other planets that still help protect Earth despite that. And whilst obviously Superman in most forms of media is ridiculously more powerful, well, I'm pretty sure Composite Transformers does make Optimus famous. And whilst they did not use full Composite Optimus, it still was somewhat of a soft composite for him. So I think extending that still falls in the limits of Death Battle Remix. So, and that definitely makes the fight more fair and just fun seeing big superhero fighting robot transformers. It's probably I don't really know how to describe it. It's just picture Superman as Optimus Prime in your head. You probably imagine it would be fun. We've seen how well Transformers fights can be done with Frieza Megatron and Galactus Unicron, and we all know how great Goku Superman 3 was. So now take the Transformers and put them against Superman. Man, do I need to say more? Do it. Since we're treating this as an somewhat actual season of Death Battle, we need to have a good mid-season finale. And what better than the matchup that literally started the show? Samus versus Master Chief. Haloid, the original animation, is what inspired Death Battle to be created in the first place. And genuinely, I think this matchup is one of the most likely options for episode 200. But that's only for talk for when I do my season 11 prediction video, which might come out near the end of the month. We'll talk about that later. But now we're talking about Samus vs. Master Chief. It's Nintendo's biggest first-person shooter versus Microsoft's biggest first-person shooter. It's classic thing. It's inspiration of Death Battle. It's vibes. It's kind of a stomp for Samus, but it's still the legacy it holds trumps all the negatives this matchup has, in my opinion. The fact when you say it's Samus versus Master Chief, that instantly clicks. It instantly makes sense. Hence, it's the reason the show exists. Is I don't need to that alone a thing. Boba Fett already got his rerun. Samus deserves hers, and Chief is, my opinion, the only way to do it because it's the reason the show exists. There are other great Samus and Chief opponents out there. I'm certain. People love a Master Chief vs. Doomguy rematch, and I'll be honest, I do too. Ooh, I would love that, but we can't really include that here because, again, no rematches. And when you think of, well, I said that Bowser Eggman and whatever a finale is are the two matchups that come to mind when you think, but I forgot to mention the third because I didn't even need to mention it. It's Samus vs. Master Chief. That's it. From mid-season finale to mid-season premiere, the returning matchup in this hypothetical remix season is Darth Vader versus Lich King. I told you that Lich King was coming. And when I said it was a nightmare, it was obviously Vader. Vader just came back, so this matchup isn't happening. Hell, Lich King was literally the previous season, so this matchup is definitely not happening anytime soon. Oh, but it's the thing. Classic good heroes that corrupted by the darkness of a sword. Well, actually, it wasn't a sword for Vader, but he does change swords to when he turns evil. His lightsaber goes from blue to red, right? So that technically does count. You know, they're clad in darkness. They're both mostly black, but one has a red overtone, and the other has a orange blue undertone. Depending on where you scale Warcraft, this is actually pretty fair. Or a massive stomp for both sides. Warcraft is weird, but I've heard it. It's the classic corruption story. And I had less for Vader, and the reason I chose this over Nightmare for Lich King is because I didn't have anything else for Vader, and I came up with a Kuma for Nightmare. So between those two opponents, I went with the one that I couldn't think of anything else for. Or Terra is on Death Battle yet. Terra Kingdom Hearts, not Terra the Teen Titans. It's the thing. You could have fun with like Lich King trying to use his ice powers and Vader throwing them around with the Force and throwing them back at him. You could force choke him similar to what the scene in Summer vs. Lich King. You could have fun conflict between Frostmourne and Vader's lightsaber. If Vader's lightsaber won't just come through Frostmourne, which might be what the case. In which case Vader definitely wins. It's fun. Speaking of Boba Fett got his run back, let's throw his opponent a forced run back here because one of the biggest crimes that Death Battle has done is that they've used Red vs. Blue in 2 episodes, and both those episodes were same series matchups, and I think that needs to change. And so I'm going to take advantage of that I'm doing this challenge to make that change. 2 of which are going to be really hard because the red team and the blue team are 2 things, and literally they have not done any other fight like that. But Meta and Carolina are going to be way easier, and Meta's Predator was a really popular thrown around matchup that I saw as a non-Meta vs. Blue opponent for the Meta. I argue even more popular than Boba Predator for a bit, but Boba Fett definitely triumphs the Meta in popularity overall. Also, I understand where he did it, especially with Book of Boba coming out. But I want this matchup purely out of I want a Red vs. Blue matchup that isn't against another Red vs. Blue character. I don't even care about Red vs. Blue. I just don't want a franchise that only has same series matchups. Especially when one of them didn't need to be. To be fair, Meta vs. Carolina is part of the canon of Red vs. Blue, so I guess that thing, but like, come on. And Predator Fiend, there's unstoppable killing machines. Wearing a mask. I don't remember the full connections, but it's vibes, it's strong. John Yaucha returning would be great. I think better he dies again, but that's just adding to the legacy of John Yaucha. Sure. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe the Death Scythe can still save him. That Death Scythe is really busted. We've covered a few too many recent characters. Let's talk about old shit again. Mega Man vs. Bomberman. This is a DBX. I didn't have many other ideas for Mega Man. I know Mega vs. Sonic's a thing. but I had even less ideas for Bomberman. And just I like the idea of Mega Man fighting another character that has man in their name, because then you can treat it as an actual Mega Man boss fight, and I like the idea of doing that, making it like so that Mega Man like walks in and Bomberman is like the boss. I wasn't treating it like that. I know Bomberman probably wins because I know there's some cosmic stuff for him, and that gets crazy in the later games. It doesn't make sense why this guy throws bombs around has like can destroy the universe or stuff. So part of the poor blue bomber is probably very outmatched, but it's still fun. I bet they can still like make it more like fair. Death Battle is good at making matchups that are not fair in the slightest seem pretty fair. And I think they can do the same for these two. Bomb. The classic NES games that have carried on until the modern day, kind of. Bomberman has gotten games relatively recently. Don't ask the same about Mega Man. I have 4 versions of him to give matchups for. That's going to be a challenge. But yeah, I think this works. It's cool. Blue versus white. If we're trying to make a semi-realistic season, I said we need at least one more this season, but we're more realistic, we need 2, and luckily there is another one, a Herald tier matchup, Doctor Doom versus Black Adam. Supervillains are leaders of countries that are actually beloved because they are actually really good leaders of their countries, and are actually less supervillains and more morally great characters that will side with whoever they need to for protection of their country. They only really care about the people of their country. Definitely goes more for Adam than Doom, but it's not the complete lie. We've had a few too many not universal level characters. I mean, for God's sake, one of the few universal characters we do have is Bomberman. Man, are you kidding me? This is a death battle season if half the cast is in a Marvel Herald or above, and nobody screams Marvel Herald or above, then Doctor Doom and Black Adam. This would have been a really good matchup, arguably better than Doom versus Lex as a matchup for Season 8, but then they would have robbed us with funny Black Adam versus Apocalypse, which that episode turned out to be really good, so hey, I'm not complaining, but if we're gonna bring back Black Adam, then Doctor Doom is probably his best opponent. Unfortunately, I do prefer Gala match for Doom, so if for Doom returns, so I don't know how much I really want this matchup, but for a Black Adam return, hell yeah! Doctor Doom! Let's go! Oh. We are at episode 13. We're usually around where the Halloween episode comes out, and we have a more unique matchup, which we're gonna have to get creative when we're trying to make a matchup for every character. And so here we have John Wick versus Michael Myers. It's pretty simple. John Wick is called the man that can kill the boogeyman. Michael Myers is practically the boogeyman. I remember when Season 9 was running around, people make this comparison because they were both in the season. Hey, man that can kill the boogeyman is the boogeyman. Could John Wick actually kill the boogeyman? The answer is, I'm pretty sure no. No, I'm pretty sure Michael's endurance is too much for Wick, but I'm not 100% certain on that. Wick is pretty tough on his own. This is definitely a more like similar to Ryan vs. Godzilla, a less, these characters are super interconnected. And it's literally taking a statement about John Wick and basically fraud checking him. This is literally the fraud check John Wick can kill the boogeyman matchup. Shut up. Unfortunately, Wick does end up being the fraud in this scenario, which is really sad. Even as someone that only saw John Wick 4, don't question it. And look, Jason vs. Michael was a really highly requested episode that turned out to be not the best. I think it's overhated, but I'm not gonna say it's like not the worst episode of Season 9. But that's more of Season 9 being really good rather than I thinking Season... Anyways. So, Michael versus John Wick can have a way to bring him back in a better episode. An episode for a more unique dynamic of being more like a horror game. Yeah, with Wick trying to avoid a monster and firing at him. Almost who Michael just slowly walks through the bullets and then stab Wick, and then Wick has to kick him away and thing. If Wick does somehow win, you probably have to be with like a rocket launcher or something. Saying we're trying to decapitate Michael. Or we end with the sad note of Michael succeeding in killing his prey. This episode really allows for a very unique vibe that completely different from the previous matchups and any other Death Battle episode in general. I think it could be really cool. From a matchup that required to be a bit more creative, there is a classic. Before Asura's Wrath, Kratos' most popular opponent was Dante. Like Mario vs. Sonic, Nick, this was the playground debate for the PlayStation era. Who would win? Dante, the devil that may cry, or Kratos, the god that is the god of war? That was a really stupid way to say it. Yet, generally, I know there's a bunch of people that still prefer this over Kratos vs. Asura, which, considering Kratos Asura's legacy as number 2 of both ballots, definitely means that it's don't play this episode whenever it comes. I still think this episode holds merit, and until that episode happens, this is gonna be a Kratos matchup. Even when the episode happens, it's still gonna be a Kratos episode, because then it would be a rematch, and I can't rematch this, so who else are gonna put him in Kratos against? Doomslayer? That's actually a pretty good matchup, but then who would I put Dante against? And so I don't know. Rhino? Don't answer that. I still think that basically the PlayStation equivalent of Mario vs. Sonic deserves to be an episode. And this is it, so do it. Both may have better opponents, and in fact, I prefer both Kratos Asura and Dante vs. Bayonetta 2 over this, but it's still a fun matchup, and I think very fitting for this remix. Nearing up the end as the semi-final episode of our first Death Battle Remix season, it's Gojo vs. Kakashi, the first episode featuring a character from the latest season, Season 10, not counting Superman because he was a returner. Gojo's first episode was in Season 10. Kakashi's pretty recent too in Season 7. This is a pretty popular matchup. They look similar, they have headbands that cover their eyes, their eyes are special in some way. Kakashi does have a way of getting through Infinite with Kamui, though I don't think that makes him win. But I've heard this debate thrown around the thing, and I think Kakashi does actually have some better arguments for him winning. He should be stronger, even without having like the Susanoo and all that. It's a fun matchup between white-haired characters that wear bandanas and thing. By the way, also, can I just say this thumbnail came out really good. Like all the other thumbnails that I have ever made for both my previous Death Battle videos and this video, I think were Like most of them were just let me take a PNG of the character, let me take a PNG of the other character, let me find a background that makes sense. But this one actually looks like if Gojo vs. Kakashi were to happen, this looks like it could actually be the matchup. Thumbnail, I'm pretty proud of this one. But yeah, like Gojo's Suzuka Kaisen is so popular. Gojo's still a major part of why it's popular. Once I do think it's not going to happen anytime soon, because I think they're going to do any other Jujutsu Kaisen character, and by the time it actually be relevant, it's no longer Gojo season. But hey, for a remix, Kakashi and Gojo fit right together. Or what better pairing? The finale is Ghost vs. Spawn. As much as I want to just leave it there, I feel like we should talk more about it. I said, when you think of a match episode, there's two that come to mind. Three. Bowser vs. Eggman, Samus Master Chief, and the obvious Ghost vs. Spawn. They've talked about this. Everyone wants it. Spawn deserves a comeback because he doesn't deserve to be launched season 1. Whilst Ghost Rider could come back or not since he was in season 6 and Ghost Rider was pretty good. But that doesn't matter for this. We're talking about a remix. If we were talking about the most likely matchup of this entire season, of this entire series we're gonna do, what matchup is the most likely to happen? Everyone would say Ghost Rider versus Spawn, and maybe Samus Master Chief and Bowser Eggman in there. There. This is a matchup that literally, I think, whilst there are definitely people that prefer other opponents for Ghost Rider and Spawn, I don't think anyone hates this matchup. Literally everyone likes this matchup. Either some people prefer others, for Spawn specifically. Demi-Fiend. But when it comes to the king of two characters that have already been on Death Battle, but are being put up against one another, it's this. Is. Because like Bowser vs. Eggman and the Samus Master Chief, both of those are more because of the legacy between, like, the legacy to the series and its legacy of the rivalry. This is Death Battle. For when I think of like popular requests, they talked about it on Cast. It's this. Ghost vs. Spawn is our season finale for the first Death Battle remix. To end it off, let's do a little recap. I made these lists for each season, covering all the characters that debuted in the season, for us to see how far of progress for per season. For Season 1, we've covered Samus, Akuma, Kratos, Spawn, Bomberman, Master Chief, Eggman, and Superman. 8 out of the 49 combatants. So ignore the little line against Jangi. For Season 2, we've covered Captain America, Deathstroke, Nightmare, Darth Vader, Doctor Doom, Mega Man, and Raiden from Metal Gear. Here, 7 out of the 59 combatants. As for Season 3, we've covered Dante, Bowser, Ganondorf, and the meta. 4 out of the 26 combatants in that series. Season 4, we've covered no one yet. Even if you counted the returners for Season 4, I don't think any of them appeared. Season 5, we covered 2. We've covered Dr. Fate, and we covered Optimus Prime. Same thing for Season 6, but Ghost Rider and Mechagodzilla. Season 7 only has one, Kakashi. See, Season 8 has none, though it would have 2 if we were to count the returners, since Akuma and Dr. Doom were both in this season, just they weren't, new to the season, so they didn't count. Season 9, surprisingly, already has 7 characters. Predator, John Wick, Black Adam, Michael Myers, Sauron, Lich King, and Vegito all have already debuted in our little Death Battle remix. 7 out of the 30 characters. Fun. And Season 10, the latest season, only has 1, Gojo. Oh. And that's the first episode of Death Battle Remix. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please leave some shits in the comments. I do have already a big list of some of the matchups I've seen from being Death Battle Discord, some that I came up myself, but I definitely need help. There are over like F Battle itself is nearly 200 episodes. Think about it like this. So that would, assuming every episode was just 2 characters, it would be 400 characters. But then you have to take into account the Battle Royales, the fact that we're including some of the bonus episodes, the fact of many of these episodes do involve returners does help, but it's still around 400, slightly less or slightly more. This is gonna be a pretty wild ride, and for me to match up 400 characters, it's gonna take a while. So I need you guys, if you have any suggestions, I'm all ears. Leave them in the comments. But that's it for now. Goodbye!